Hey, what's going on everybody? Today I'm going to do another quick video just to show you how to set up port forwarding on an edge router. I have got a few requests for this before, and it's a video I haven't explicitly done yet, so figured why not just show you how to do it. It's pretty quick and easy, down and dirty. This isn't going to take very long to show you. So let's just first start off. If you don't know what port forwarding is, it's really just poking a hole in your security to forward some traffic that's coming in from the internet and forwarding it onto an actual private device. Because the way a network is set up, you have the internet on one side of your modem or router, and then you have your actual LAN on the other side, and that's where your computers and other devices sit. Typically, everything on the inside of your network has a private IP address, so like 192.168.1. whatever, and you have a public IP on the outside, so we'll just say like 100.1.1. I don't know, 20. And your router runs something called NAT, and really all that does is it translates all of these mini private IPs on the inside of your network to your single public IP. But when anybody tries to connect to your public IP from the outside, typically there's a firewall or some kind of rule that blocks it. So if you're running a web service on the inside of your network, it's going to get blocked at your router because it has nowhere to forward it onto. It doesn't have any rules for that, and your router itself is typically not running a web server or something on it that's accessible from the outside. So what we have to do is tell the router to forward certain traffic on a certain port or port number, TCP UDP ports, to a specific device on the inside. So we'll just use Minecraft as the example here, and we know that Minecraft uses port 25565, and that's just from a quick Google. So this 25565 port is the one we're going to forward for a Minecraft server, and we're just going to say that we're running it on our PC that we're using right now. Now, to set up port forwarding, there's a few pieces of information we need to know, and that's the IP address of where we're going to forward to, or what computer or server is running the application we want to forward. So we'll call that the destination IP. And we're going to want to know the port that we're going to forward. And this is going to be application specific. So for Minecraft, we just Google that and we know that 25565 is going to be the port we're going to forward for that. Now, another piece of information which is kind of optional is your public IP. And this is really just to give to other people to connect to. So this you can get from a quick Google. It's going to be different for everybody. And this is what other people outside of your network are going to use to connect to your services. So now that we know what info we need, let's go ahead and get that. So if you're running Windows, to get the IP address of the computer that you're on, just open a command prompt and type in ipconfig, and we can see that our address of this local computer is 192.168.1.7. So assuming that we're running our Minecraft server here, this is going to be the IP address that we forward to. Now to get our public IP, if we just go to Google and type in what is my IP, Google's nice enough to show us what our public IP is as the very first search result. And mine is blurred out for obvious reasons because this is my actual public IP for my house. So this is what I would give to somebody else if I wanted them to connect to the services that I'm about to forward the port for. Now the next piece of information that we need is the port, which we already know what port we're doing, but we'll just go ahead and search Minecraft port forwarding. And we should get, yep, nice little description. First result, you will need to port forward port 25565 to the internal IP address. So let's go ahead and go to our edge router, and I'm assuming you already have one set up and working. So this is actually my personal edge router. This is not a lab device. And mine just happens to be 10.13.13.13. Yours will be different, and if you don't know the IP of your edge router, then that is also in your IP config information that we did earlier. So 192.168.1.1 is the default gateway for this virtual machine, and this one's not actually on the edge router. So just kind of ignore that information. But if you're on your own network and you're connected directly to the edge router, then that IP should match your edge router IP. Now let's go ahead and go to the firewall NAT tab. And the default tab that we go into is already port forwarding, and we can see I already have a rule set up for port 4433, and that is for an SSL VPN that I already have configured. Now if we want to add a new rule, all we got to do is just click the add rule. It makes some more boxes, and the original port, this is going to be the port that's incoming from the internet. So Minecraft's using 25565, and for the protocol, We didn't really see that in our Minecraft search, but if we go down here, there's already a question, is Minecraft TCP or UDP? And we can see that Java Edition uses TCP 25565 and Bedrock Edition uses UDP 19132. So for Minecraft, we're just going to assume we're using Java Edition, and if we want to, we can just set that to TCP, and that is the exact protocol that we want to forward. But if you're unsure, you can do both if you really want to. Now the forward to address, this is the machine on the inside of our network that we're going to forward it to. So 192.168.1.7 is the IP of this computer that I'm on. That's going to be the one we assume is hosting the server. And we're going to put in the same forward to port. You can change these if you want to. You would have specific use cases for changing these ports. Most of the time, if you're port forwarding, both of them are going to be the same. The requested port, or the original port, is going to be forwarded along unchanged to the server. Now, there are a few reasons that you would want these to be different, but we're not going to worry about those for now. And then we just enter a description, so Minecraft, and we're going to apply these settings, and the configuration has been applied successfully, and that is really all we need to do to set up port forwarding on an edge router. And we can show rule stats if we want. This is just going to show how many data packets have matched these port forwarding rules, so this is kind of a real quick way to see if it's working or not. You can try and initiate that connection from the outside, and it should show up here the number of packets and bytes that match those rules. And that can be useful for troubleshooting if for some reason your port forwarding rule isn't working right. You can see if it's even classifying that traffic or not by these rule stats. Now, one thing that I didn't really go over because I already have port forwarding set up, if this is the first time you're setting up port forwarding, you will have to specify your WAN interface and your LAN interface. And on an Edgerouter-X, that's typically ETH0 is your WAN interface, and switch 0 on an Edgerouter-X is your LAN interface. Now, if you do have a different edge router, this will be probably one of the Ethernet ports, whichever one is your main LAN interface. But you do have to set this up, and it's really just which interface is accepting this traffic originally, and which network is it forwarding to. So once that's set up, you're good to go. And that's really all there is to that. So hopefully you learned something, and happy networking.